here we see a beautiful chickadee singing about
But this ain't about those little feathered idiots. This is about shopping carts.
Acquisitionem Obristiques aus Plustrum, or more well known as the common shopping cart. It is also one of the very few silicon-based life forms on this planet, and is part of the genus Trichinium vehiculum. Silicon-based life, as we all know, cannot breathe oxygen. They breathe the methane in our atmosphere instead. When oxygen comes in contact with a silicon compound, such as a silicon-based life form, there will be a chemical reaction that creates quartz. This is not a problem on most planets, but on Earth it means that silicon life can't move. There isn't much methane in our atmosphere, but there is just enough for shopping carts to survive. They have to rely on other organisms to move around. This forms the basis of the symbiotic relationship between humans and shopping carts. Shopping carts are able to move around, and humans get a convenient way to carry their stuff. Other silicon life forms, such as wheelbarrows and rickshaws, are in similar situations, but they don't really matter. Before we cover the shopping cart's life cycle, a common misconception about them should be addressed. Most people think that the common fourth wheel syndrome is some kind of disease, but it is, in fact, necessary for a shopping cart's survival. You see, the fourth wheel is the point where shopping carts inhale methane. The erratic wobbling that the fourth wheel often does is just the wheel searching for a strong current of methane, kind of like some species of coral. A shopping cart that doesn't have fourth wheel syndrome is doomed to live a short life. Now this is the shopping cart breeding grounds, although some weirdos call them grocery stores. This is where shopping cart's life will begin and where it will inevitably end. We have been very lucky to catch a parent and a child together. They seem to have strayed far from their home. Notice how the parent waits protectively over the child. All this does is console the parent, because if a predator, like a steamroller, were to attack the child, all the parent could do is watch, since shopping carts can't move.
She was my only baby. She used to drive me crazy. Now it's too late to save her.
Most shopping carts grow up in the breeding grounds. It takes about 2 to 3 years for a shopping cart to reach adulthood. At that age, they begin to desperately want to leave their home, but they can only hope, since they can't move. If an adult shopping cart gets lucky enough, they will get taken far and wide. All shopping carts spend at least a year, sometimes up to 7 years, wandering the world. Some companies have majorly disrupted the shopping cart life cycle by attaching rods to the shopping cart so it can't leave. But other nicer humans have managed to assist in helping these poor creatures break free. The wandering stage is when shopping carts are most useful to humans. They tend to be found and used largely by the poorest section of humanity. In some ways, they have been even more useful to the homeless than the government. Some experts have even considered creating a shopping cart-based charity to help the impoverished get shopping carts.
When you have a limited income, shopping carts are quite convenient in terms of transporting goods, items, traditionally groceries, if you need to move somewhere, if you need to move your laundry from one place to another and don't have access to a vehicle. These days, prices of gas make it difficult to run a vehicle. The other thing shopping carts are sometimes used for are transporting people who are unwell. So the cost of an ambulance is fairly expensive, not always covered by healthcare. If somebody has difficulties with ambulation, they may utilize a shopping cart to have a friend to push them around. These are all different ways in which shopping carts are utilized by people who struggle with income levels. Shopping carts, for the most part, are pretty balanced, having 4 wheels. They don't tip very easily. If you were to use something else, such as a wheelbarrow, depending on the balance, it could tip over. If you have a person who's injured or on like some kind of challenge with mobilization, having a wheelbarrow can be tricky. It uses a different number of muscles to heave up a wheelbarrow compared to a shopping cart. I guess other options would be things like a stroller, but that does not hold as much room.
Here is one of Professor Ides' test projects, where she has placed a shopping cart at Oak Table. Oak Table is a kind of soup kitchen / community center, so it is a perfect place to get data from. When seeing shopping carts like this, most people assume they are hibernating, but their state during winter is nothing like hibernating. Here is Sako the sock puppet to describe where the mind of a buried shopping cart is.
In a frightening liminal space between states of being. Not quite dead, not quite alive. It's similar to a constant state of sleep paralysis.
A lot of shopping carts end up on the banks of rivers. Here we can see these lucky shopping carts who manage to meet. Adult shopping carts are mostly solitary creatures, but sometimes enjoy being near others of its own kind, although it is a rare occurrence. There is a certain fate that all shopping carts instinctually dread: getting pulled into the river. If a shopping cart, like this one, is buried near the water, then in the summer, when the snow melts, it will get pulled in. These shopping carts are fated to slowly rust away in the riverbed until death finally releases them. Well, anyways, once they're done with wandering, they will strongly desire to get picked up by a shopping cart truck. These virtuous creatures will deliver shopping carts back to the breeding ground. Once a shopping cart gets back, it will soon start making more of itself. Shopping carts reproduce asexually and are very private about it, so no one really knows how it works. One day there'll be a shopping cart, and the next day there'll be another, little baby shopping cart. Asexual reproduction is why all shopping carts in a given area look the same, but variations in climate have led many subspecies of shopping carts to emerge. Value Village, Red River Co-op, and Safely, to name a few. The names come from the strange markings that cover their bodies that, coincidentally, look exactly like words. Many businesses have decided to take advantage of a particular subspecies and build a brand around it. It is a common misconception that the store came before the cart, when it is, in fact, the cart that came before the store. And here we see a no-frills shopping cart in its natural habitat, happily living out its final years until it is decommissioned. Shopping carts are amazing creatures. Being one of the few silicone life forms on this planet, they are of great interest to scientists. Their inability to move presents a unique challenge, but they manage to evolve their way to move through a symbiotic relationship with humans. They also have a life cycle that, at its core, is quite similar to that of many humans. Growing up, traveling for a while, and eventually settling down and building a family. Ultimately, shopping carts are amazing creatures, and we should stop ridiculing people who bring shopping carts out of the breeding grounds. They are just assisting in a shopping cart's natural life cycle. I hope that everyone who watches this will now look at shopping carts with new eyes. Happy birthday, Eli.